Hello everybody, it's me.
Bruce Hyden.
Have you ever played a Souls game? If your answer is no, then click off the video, casual scum. If the answer is a resounding yes, I play Dark Souls since 2015 or earlier, then cool, you can stay. All jokes aside, giving this game the time of day was a tricky venture for me as I never heard of the developers, and this thing is an Epic Store exclusive. For now. Of course it is. Anyways, Mortal Shell is essentially Dark Souls. Well, kinda. I mean, it feels like Dark Souls, but at the same time it doesn't. And boy, is that a good thing. So, if you're contemplating whether or not this game is worth your time, stick around. Alright, Mortal Shell is a Souls-like, and I actually kinda mean it this time. This term, Souls-like, has been thrown around so much that people think Hollow Knight is a Souls-like. It isn't. It is a Metroidvania, and Dark Souls is inspired by Metroidvania games, so essentially they stem from the same stem. But they're not the same genre. If you still think so, please do argue with me in the comments. Can't wait. In Mortal Shell, you play as a foundling, this thing that's essentially a sort of wraith, I believe. You're squishy and shitty, but destined for great things, I suppose. Anyway, your character technically inhabits the corpses of fallen warriors you find lying around. Namely, these four dudes. Harris, Solomon, Teal, and Eredrim. That's a mouthful. Bleh. Eredrim. Loki, Harris' best boy. Hashtag Harris' best boy. You also have access to an ability called Harden, which is exactly how I was when I started the game. Apart from that, the regular dodge, roll, run, and so on you'd see in games like these. No block though. Weird, huh? Well, you do have Harden. Okay, there's a lot more of this, so I'll split it into several parts. Part 1. Harden. Probably the most important mechanic in the game. It turns you into a statue, essentially, and you can use it whenever, as long as it is on cooldown. This means as you attack, as you heal, as you run, or in the air. It also freezes your body in place, naturally, and you can let go of the button to cease and desist, or stay like that until you've taken a hit. This ability gives you some brief moments of invulnerability as you come out of it, so the best way to use it, I found, was to attack and harden at the same time. That way your foe comes into your weapon while you don't take any damage whatsoever, at least in New Game, and stagger the bastard as his weapon bounces off your thick skin. You can then follow that up with a flurry of swings to either finish them off or deal a copious amount of damage. Harden negates all damage in New Game, as I said. What you're seeing on screen is New Game +1. This is why it is less effective. I don't know the name of this ability for sure. Let's go with Second Chance, right? Second Chance! I think it's appropriate, right? Second part, second chance. Bam! This is a fairly simple mechanic with many applications, considering you're not really a fighter, but rather a spooky boy with lots of time. If you get your meat suit killed, you get kicked out of it. You have a chance to regain it with full HP for some reason, but if you get hit once, you're dead. There is an ability that allows you to have an extra charge for second chance. If you kill enough enemies, it takes about 10. I actually bothered to test this out. You can also trigger this at will via an item called Tainted Nectar. Part 3. Specializations. As you might suspect, each corpse has their own flavor. Harris's skills lie in stamina management and spamming the shit out of Harden. He's a well-rounded character. Solomon's skills revolve around the parry mechanic and he's thicker than Harris. This leads to him having shit stamina management even though the bar itself is identical to Harris's. Eridrim is the thickest of boys. His abilities are for boosting HP and damage. He has the largest HP bar but really shit stamina. Teal's skills are designed for poisoning people and making you virtually immune to it as well, which is cool. Teal also has a massive stamina pool. To compensate, he has shit HP. You've noticed a third stat in the menus here, that is resolve. Think of this as a super meter ripped straight out of fighting games. We'll get to that too. Keep your shirt on, unless you have nice tits. Wink wink. The next item on the list is the weapons. Tough luck, there are only 4 in the entire game. I know, it sucks balls, but I never really felt this supposed lack. Hear me out. You get a regular bastard sword, a giant greatsword, a giant mace, or a hammer and chisel. The bastard sword is not regular at all, as it can hold a spear inside it. Don't ask me how. I abused this weapon a lot in my playthrough, as I believe it is the most versatile and looks like I want to have sex with it. Opinions may vary. The greatsword is great at crowd control and can also freeze people with the right upgrades. The mace is the big boy damage dealing thing that can also set boys on fire and set itself on fire as well. The hammer and chisel are the only dual wield weapon in the game, which is nice. Variety, I like that, except I don't care because hollow sword is my favorite. It also poisons people. Alright, all weapons have a 3-hit combo for both light and heavy attacks. So 6 types of swings in total, and a running attack. You can however combo them. For that, I'm gonna let my boy Harris take over.
Hello everybody, it's me, Aros. Alright, now check this out. Alright Gov, we started things pretty easy here. This is hammer and chisel, cause they're light as fuck, and they swing pretty fast. Oh, this is a pain in the ass. This is so fucking heavy, holy shit. I gotta catch me breath. Why the fuck is this mace even in the game? I mean, I already have a big fat sword. Why do I need a big fat mace too? Just to, what, compensate the ice from the sword with the fire from the mace? Fuck that! And this is me showcasing my dear and beloved bastard sword. As you can see, I can essentially do this with all the fucking weapons. Alright? Alright. It's basically the same buttons. It ain't rocket science, innit? Just like me mate Poseidon, my favorite is the bastard sword, cause I'm a fucking bastard. And I like poking people too.
Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's go back to resolve. The resolve meter varies from character to character, but in my experience it is not as pivotal as everything else as I just babbled about. Alas, I'll give you the 411. as to what this meter does. Essentially, it either enables you to use the special abilities of the weapons, the ones that I mentioned, or it empowers your parries, namely, depending on what kind of riposte you want, there are three. It'll allow you to either heal, deal a shit ton of damage, or jabate mobs into an AoE. As you can see, the special attacks take 2 resolve bars, and the empowered parries take 1. However, I would urge you to use them as seldomly as possible. You first need to focus on the basics, the things that I've mentioned previously, right? Now that I've laid down all the mechanics of the game, I'd like to introduce you to the plot. It's not amazing, nor should it be. Nobody cares about how carefully a story was told. This is a Souls-like experience. You are dropped, hopefully on your head, into a very oppressive, dangerous world with no bearings at all, no map, no idea where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to do, except a random cryptic dribble some NPC throws at you. The plot is not exactly essential. It's a do or die situation, boy. And you're worrying about the plot? Anyway, you're supposed to beat up 3 strong boys and steal their glands. Yep, you heard that right. Glands. These boys are Fire Boy, Ice Boy, and Alzheimer Boy? The glands are Fire, Ice, and Oblivion. I guess they couldn't think of anything else except Oblivion. Alas, this boy tells you to do it. Trust him. He's your bird buddy. Like your parrot or something. After you give him 3, you fight the final boss and then BAM! Roll credits. Easy. Jokes aside, the whole narrative is quite ambiguous in true Dark Souls fashion. And we need to keep that in mind, right? Don't worry. I was just as confused as you are now. Roll with the punches and enjoy the ride. That's essentially the quintessential mantra of Souls games in general. Just roll with it. Except that there are certain things that are somewhat beyond your comprehension. Or more than that. Regardless, it is what it is. Before we go any further, I would like to provide you with a little piece of content that, in my opinion, showcases how this game's combat system works when all the gears are turning and all the cylinders are firing up, so to speak. Throughout the recordings, if you have been paying attention, I've been messing up all sorts of parries and so on and so forth because I was trying to test certain mechanics of the game, right, for the purpose of this review. I decided to show this off rather than, spoil everything about the game in the video. This, however, will be a little bit of a spoiler because what I'm about to show you is gonna be what is most likely your first big boy boss encounter. Flamey Boy. Or Fire Boy. Or Thick Fire Boy. Or however you want to call him, right? At any rate, spoiler warning, stuff like that. Skip ahead. You know the drill. If you don't want to be spoiled. If you do want to be spoiled, it's not really that much of a spoiler. You'll just see me smacking it a lot. Stay tuned and enjoy. As you saw, immediately as I started the fight, I hardened so I can tank the hit and retaliate. Afterwards, I used the special skill of the weapon, the spear that I mentioned, to stagger him and get some good damage in. I'm hardening through his flames. firing as I'm hitting him, and then at the end I get even more damage in, as you saw, and stagger him as well. This was a very nice play, if I may say so myself. It's not just because it's me, the thing is anybody can do this, right? The game gives you the options to do these things. You feel very in control when you play this game. It's not, as I said, it doesn't feel like Dark Souls at all, but it does at the same time. This is his second phase, as you probably noticed. He gets that kick as well, right? Fortunately for me, it doesn't deal any damage, it just shoves me aside. I mess up here. And I burned enough to kick me out of the show. I got it back though, because I still had the ability. And afterwards I continue wailing on him. I fought this boss before, this is why this was relatively easy. He's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. And now he does. Every time you rip out the gland from these strong boys, you'll unleash a green fog over the land. This fog changes the enemies into auto-grab fuckos that bite your face off. It's great fun. You need to reach your home base and give the gland tube for the fog to be lifted. Once you deliver the first gland to, you'll see this NPC in your clubhouse that will allow you to summon the fog at will if you pay him. You might ask, why would I want to make the game harder on me by unleashing the fog again? Well, there are a bunch of chests that are locked in regular play and magically become unlocked when the fog sets in. These chests contain ample resources and important upgrade items. It is a great way to shake the gameplay up a bit, if I may say so myself. I do quite enjoy it. Going back to the clubhouse, here you have your very own waifu. She's weird, but likes your loot songs. She also doubles as a bonfire. I mean a checkpoint. You know, the kind of checkpoint that you would resurrect at after you die, for realsies. Your waifu is also in charge of helping you unlock all the skills to every meat suit that you have. Right, so when you do die, you lose all of your tar, right? Tar is essentially souls, just like in Dark Souls. Again, you have one chance to get it back, but if you die again in the meantime, it's gone forever. Tar is essentially a form of currency. There are two forms of currency in the game. One of them is tar, as I said, and the other one is glimpses, right? The only difference between them is that glimpses are generally harder to come by, and you can use them either to summon the fog with the fog dude, or simply upgrade your skills via your waifu. Quick note, glimpses do stay on you after you die. You never lose those because essentially they are glimpses of your former past and so on and so forth, and you can't really lose those, now can you? Tar, however, is more physical, right? It makes total sense, doesn't it? Apart from Fog Dude and the waifu, you also have a merchant, a really thick one.
Joe, I'll gladly accept any tar as payment.
Your very own weapons showcase. A place where you store your meat suits that I've previously shown. I'll show it to you again. And last but not least, a workbench where you can upgrade your stuff, namely your weapons, and repair one of the most disgusting weapons in the game, if not the most disgusting. Alright, I know I said I mentioned all the mechanics the game has to offer, but I lied. You see that thing on my back? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is the Ballistzuka. That's a word now. Essentially, it's a super crossbow. It fires massive bolts that obliterate pretty much anything in their way. They are destructive, fun, but not particularly useful in combat. I just like to dick around with it every now and again.
Headshot. Double kill. Triple kill. Ultra kill. Mega kill. Monster kill. Holy shit.
Granted, there are many more mechanics low-key, but I'm not gonna go through all of them, right? You can switch between your 4 meat suits at will on the road, in a fight. You can switch between weapons in a fight and so on with the press of a button. You have like these options at your disposal, but they are limited. At least changing the meat suits is. And there's some more stuff, including warping from one checkpoint to another and so on in true Dark Souls-y fashion, the way you did it in Dark Souls 1 with the Lord Vessel. Instead of a golden bowl, you use a golden mask. After all my babbling, I guess it's sadly time for my conclusion. This game truly impressed me. This is essentially an indie game. It had a very small budget and had very little advertising heading to the release date. I would urge you to try it out, especially if you're a Souls fan. Even still, the addition of Harden makes it a bit more manageable for new players alike. Although it did take me some getting used to the mechanics and the timing, which resulted in me getting shit on by the mob enemies a lot, I did eventually power through and beat the game no problem. It has garnered massive respect from me, and the team deserve at least a pat on the back. The combat is methodical but can get pretty hectic. The animation looks amazing for a relatively low budget game. The enemies are varied and not carbon copies of each other, although there are some of those too, mainly one enemy type with the same attack pattern, but hey, they have different clothes. The first and most pathetic enemy you'll face, the brigand. This mofo, the one that's walking at you like he's got a thing to prove. Like he just beat the shit out of some heavyweight champion, now it's your turn. The environments are all connected somewhat. There is quite a bit of looping around, but mainly your clubhouse is at the center of the map. The variation could use some work, but hey, it's not a AAA game. Essentially you have, I don't know, like give or take 4 to 5 zones. They're big zones, mind you, but one of them is kind of a dungeon with fiery stuff going on. Another one is a dungeon with icy stuff going on. Another one is the, let's say, the overworld, right? Which is essentially a swamp, right? Or a bogmire. Yeah, that's a word. Yes, really, look it up, Bogmire, look it up. And the last and final zone, I think, or at least that's how I did it in my first playthrough. A particularly weird and ominous place that I can't really describe very well because there's a lot of huge chunks of what seems to be obsidian, I guess. And it looks like it was once a city or something, made entirely of obsidian. And that's actually kind of cool. I don't know. I kind of dig that place. It's spooky, kooky, and dark as fuck. At any rate, there's not much variety in terms of environments. But again, it's not a AAA studio, nor is it a AAA game. I'd give them a break every day of the week if the quality of everything else is top notch. And it is, mostly. Some hit detection issues here and there, but I did play this game day one. I also finished it day one. The footage you're seeing is New Game Plus 1. And there are a couple of hiccups. I don't know if you can notice them, but if you can, leave a comment. I don't know. Interact with me. Do it. All in all, Mortal Shell is what I believe a Souls-like should strive to be. Something that pays homage to Dark Souls, but at the same time is not scared of shaking up the formula to the degree where it's mostly an action-adventure, period, with pretty much no RPG elements. I genuinely don't mind that, by the way. And another thing I don't mind is that these shells you inhabit have weaknesses and strengths, and will stay that way for the entirety of the playthrough. Except Haros, that man. So, unlike in Dark Souls where you can overlevel like nobody's business, here you need to stick to it and get scrub. I dig that mentality. I really do. At any rate, if you'll excuse me, I think I just found a better waifu.